Hey everybody, welcome back. And all across the world, Wonder Woman is just on everybody's mind, and I'm here with WWE's Wonder Woman,
Oh, I like
Nikki
that.
Cross.
I like that.
Nikki,
Hi.
lovely to meet you.
How are you? You
How are
okay?
you? Decked out NXT from head to toe.
Of course, very fashionable.
So you're here in Aberdeen, the beautiful, sunny Aberdeen.
Sunny.
And you're back in Scotland. This is the first time you've been in Scotland with NXT. This must be pretty cool for you to come home and be part of the WWE roster.
It's so cool. This is the first time I've wrestled in Scotland or been in Scotland with NXT, and it's amazing. Like, it's so fun.
And for people
Pinch
who,
myself.
for people who like maybe don't know part of your history, when did you start training to wrestle, and what kind of got you? What made you take the leap from watching it to wanting to actually try it yourself?
I was about 10, and I shared a room with my sister, and she put on, it was WWE Fully Loaded 2000, and it was, I think that the first match on the card was the Hardy Boys and Lita versus Trish Stratus, Test and Albert, and they had an intergender match, and it was like, because I'd never like seen wrestling or anything like that. And I said to my sister, because the time difference, so it was like 1 a.m. over here, so she's putting it on, and I'm like, oh, like, I wanted to get to sleep, and I was protesting, but she was the older sister, so obviously she gets her own way. So she put it on, and then I think within like 3 minutes, like after nagging at her to turn it off, I was then just entranced, and I just loved it. I thought it was so much fun. And then the steel cage match on that show, and then they had Chris Jericho, Triple H, Last Man Standing, and they had The Undertaker, Kurt Angle, and The Rock defended his championship, and I was just entranced by that one show. And then we didn't have Sky, but we had terrestrial TV, so Channel 4 at that time showed WWE events, and we would stay up and watch, and just throughout my teenage years I would watch it. And then when I was 18, I decided to go to a wrestling school. So I just decided. I was like, I'd always kind of thought about it, and then I think I went to Glasgow Uni, and I was in the library, and I was meant to be studying and writing an essay, and I was googling Scottish wrestling schools, and it turned out there was one quite nearby, the Scottish Wrestling Alliance, and then I think that just 4 days later I went that Sunday. Just went down, got the bus from Buchanan bus station, and I was on the bus, and just took me pretty much to the industrial estate, dropped me off at the Safeway. Remember Safeways before they turned into, I don't know,
Morrison's,
Tesco's and whatever not. And there was these two boys on the train, and I think one of them was wearing like a wrestling t-shirt, so I was like, oh, maybe they know where they're going, like. And so the bus stopped, and I got off at the Safeway, because that had been the directions on the website, it said get off at the Safeway. And then the two boys also got off, and I was like, right, maybe I'll just follow them. I mean, I don't know, thankfully I ended up at the Scottish Wrestling School, but I don't know where I would have ended up otherwise, but I followed my instinct. I was wearing a wrestling t-shirt, so.
and then I remember, so obviously ICW is a big part of the British wrestling scene. I remember the first ICW show that I ever went to, because my friend said, you got to come and see this show. And on the show was a lot of people that we know now, Wolfgang and all these different stars. But I remember the one person that really was memorable was you, because you came out looking like you were in human resources in this sort of, if to our American viewers, pantsuit, I guess you call it.
Pantsuit, yes. That's what you call it.
And you had a clipboard, and you basically were just screaming at the top of your voice about various things. But it was very memorable to me and a lot of people, I think, that night. What was in ICW? What was your kind of mindset as a wrestling character of what you wanted to do? And because obviously at that point in WWE, it was still more of the kind of diva style of wrestling at that point, maybe like kind of bra and panties matches and stuff. But you were far from that in ICW. What was your mark that you wanted to make in indie wrestling when you were kind of coming up the ranks?
My goal was always to be in WWE. That was always that was my dream. That's where I wanted to be. For me, when I started wrestling, my first thought was I just wanted to see if I was any good at it. Like, I just wanted to feel it and see if this was really something I wanted to do. And from that very first training session, like, it just something clicked in my brain. I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. So when I was in the independent scene, my goal was just to be the best I could be, and I wanted to be as versatile as I could be. I wanted to be able to fill any role which was required. You know, with ICW or SWA, and then like wrestling in Japan, wrestling in America, wrestling down in England. Like I just wanted to be the best I could be and be well travelled. And because I knew that looking at people's careers like Bryan Danielson and like Daniel Bryan, and then like, you know, Chris Jericho, Eddie Guerrero, like these guys that I looked up to, that's what they did before going to WWE. They had went to all these different companies and wrestled different styles, different opponents, and became, you know, the best they were, and then went to WWE being, you know, well-travelled people. So for me, that there wasn't. I think my goal was to, you know, I would always say, as long as I'm having fun and as long as I'm staying safe, I really just wanted to be the best I could be and just try different stuff and, you know, and different storylines and trying out different ideas. And that character on ICW was really fun and ended up, you know, progressed to different things as well. So I didn't really have I don't know, I think that was just my mindset, like just be the best I can be.
Because you see, it's like now in WWE we see a lot that it's not as much of there's a women's division and there's a men's division. It's like the women can outperform the guys, and it can, you know, it's all kind of feels equal. And it felt like back in those days as well that you were pushing that, well, I'm not just the women's segment, I'm going to be a memorable segment on the show. And when did you kind of know, or was there a point where you knew before WWE got in touch that I think this could realistically happen now? Was there a point in your career where you thought, I think I'm going to get there?
Yeah, the first time I went to Japan, it was 2013. When I came back from that trip, I was kind of at a point where I did think to myself, okay, is this going to be something that I can do full time? Because the thing with wrestling in Japan was for those 4 weeks, I was completely immersed in wrestling, and it was amazing. So I think that was definitely the point that, even though this was my dream since I was 10, and then, you know, went to the school at 18 years old and then got better and better, it was really that trip to Japan, I think, that solidified in my head, okay, I want this to be full time. And then when I came back from Japan, that's when we had a wrestling seminar with Mr. Robbie Brookside, who's now a coach at the Performance Centre, and having that seminar with Robbie, like, Robbie's a fantastic guy, and he really instilled that belief that, you know what, this isn't unrealistic. Like, there was this realism that was like, you know what, I could really do this. And I thank Robbie for, you know, sometimes you just need someone to kind of like believe in yourself, like, and that was his motto, was like, believe in yourself. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but yeah, it was, you know, so 2013 was a really good point for me, and from there, that's when I really started making headway. From there, I knew that I wanted to wrestle in America because I knew that would help put me on the radar. Because, you know, WWE is in America, you know, it's worldwide, but that's, you know, where the Performance Centre is. So then from that trip to Japan, and it led to so many other amazing things, and yeah, just